started on this Friday afternoon. This is a talk I've been looking forward to, and I was very excited when Lena made the contact to be able to bring our speaker here today, Bergad, back to Pittsburgh. He is a Pittsburgh guy. His dad's been here for 95 years, and he's here to watch his son perform. We know this has been a pretty weird election year. I don't know what other word to call it at this point. But when we started, before this year started, before the academic year, we were obviously really wanting to do some things about the Latino vote, because last time the Latino vote was so crucial to the outcome, and so we had several conversations about how to do this and what to bring it. So when Angelina found you and your connection here, we were very excited that you were willing and able to come and hear about this. What role the Latinos will play, both at the top of the ticket and down below, is really interesting. How Florida has obviously changed with the opening to Cuba, or the opening between Cuba and the United States, and obviously the rhetoric about the wall and all these kinds of things. And so turnout will be crucial, and Hillary hasn't garnered as much support in different ways as we know, but it'll be really fascinating. I'm really looking forward to this. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you all. It's good to be home. I was born and raised here in Pittsburgh, and I went to graduate school here and did my PhD. And Angelina told me I had to tell you the story, because right here, where you are all sitting, was Forbes Field, the home of the Pittsburgh Pirates. When I was 14 years old, I worked here, selling hot dogs, selling scorecards. So this is really a homecoming for me in many, many ways, and I want to dedicate this lecture to my father, who's 95 3/4 years old. Before I start, I think it's ironic that as we look to the politics and the madness of this election, I follow very closely because I work with CNN on the issue of Latino vote, and so I follow everything, and I keep hearing on CNN and CNN in Espanol and every other newscast all about white men who hadn't graduated high school and suburban white women and others who have graduated college. The Latino vote has receded in importance in the public imagination. I don't hear anyone talking about Latinos. So the fact of the matter is, as you will see from today, Latinos in Florida are going to clearly deprive Trump of winning the state, in my prediction here. And of course, if he can't carry Florida, he can't win the presidency. So we're going to get into some demographic stuff, some statistical stuff. I want to issue a word of caution. You're going to be overwhelmed here with a barrage of data. Don't pay attention to it. It's the story behind the data that is important. The data is just evidence for the story. So that's one thing. Second thing, I'm going to do this like a class. Do you have any questions while I'm speaking? Raise your hand, and I will do my best to answer them. Okay? Got it? Deal?
I have a statement. I did a terrible job of introducing you, honestly, because I didn't include your affiliations and I believe you're working on your 5th book right now.
Try 7th.
7th? Okay, I got so working on history in Cuba, and the slave trade, agrarian capitalism in Puerto Rico, and the most recent one that is about Hispanics, and that's why you've been involved with CUNY from the program at CUNY, where he's the director of the Center for Latin American Studies and the founder of that center, correct? And including this work on Latinos and with CNN en Espanol, which is why we've been very excited about bringing here. So my apologies, I'm not doing a little bit better of a job.
All right. Let's look at some basic stuff. Oh, you have a question?
I just wanted to ask you something.
Go.
Hispanics are the largest minority in the United States today. They make up about 16% of the population. And you mentioned earlier, you mentioned earlier that there's been no attention. Oh, good. Thank you very much. You mentioned that there's nothing done in regard to them compared to white women, college.
Right.
And yet it's the largest minority in the United States.
Right. I think that the reason is very clear. The polling data, and I think politicians mostly follow the polling data, has indicated that Clinton is going to win a landslide of unmitigated proportions among Latinos in the United States. Romney won 29% of the Latino vote in and more or less according to exit polls in 2012. Trump is now polling at about 12% approval rating. And it's estimated that Clinton is probably going to win close to 80% of the Latino vote. That's, and I think that that has sort of pushed Latinos off the center stage in terms of the news reporting cycle. It's a huge mistake, and you're going to see why. The Latino vote is many things, and it means something different in different states. So we're going to get to that. Now, let's look at the demographic data here. This chart shows you that as of 2014, 17.3% of the population in the United States was of Latino origin. I might add that about 75% were born in the United States. Mexicans are about 2/3 of all Latinos. We have basically a domestic-born population, despite all the ranting and raving of Trump about immigrants and this and that. Only about 25% of Latinos in the United States were actually born outside of the U.S. That's in Latin America and Caribbean. So that's one thing. This data is from 2014 only because the latest census data that's reliable that I use to crunch numbers, I use raw data files, is from that. It's probably ticked up to 18%. Those of you who follow the news cycle know that the Census Bureau is predicting that by 2050, 1 in 3 Americans will be of Latino or Hispanic descent, and certainly the vast majority will be born in the United States. So this is the basic demographic stuff. It's just going to keep going upward. Like this does not work. That's why I don't use apples. This is the right one. I don't know if jump ahead 2 slides or one. How do you go backwards?
Up arrow.
No.
Or left arrow.
Let me hit escape. Apple computers are always mystifying to me.
Slideshow that play with this right down there.
All right. So when we look at the voting population, you can see the red line here is the electorate. These are citizens 18 years of age and over. So we have approximately, and I'm projecting in 2016 based on past trends and tendencies, about 28 million eligible voters who are of Latino origin. About only 16 million will be registered, and only 13.5 million are going to participate in this election.
You say you use census data. Are you considering all Latinos, whoever marked Latino, regardless of how many other categories they also marked, like myself?
Look, all data has a margin of error. I used raw data files to analyze this, number one. Number two, on voting patterns, the database that I'm using here is issued by the Census Bureau. The Census Bureau keeps a meticulous record of voting by ethnicity and race since 1992. And so we have data from every single state. It is, again, accompanied by a statistical margin of error. So this is what we have. These are the cards we have to work with. This is what I'm presenting to you. Is it up and down 5%? Maybe. We don't know. There's no way to determine that. All right? So we see that we have a big potential voting population, a fairly small actual voting population. We're going to get into that in a moment. Now, back in 2012, Latinos, and I think what you want to really focus on is the green line here, because we'll get to that. Latinos were about 8.4% of all votes cast in the election, national election of 2012. Again, they voted 71% for Obama. I am estimating that in 2016, the next month, it's going to be close to 10% of all ballots cast are going to be Latinos. And you can project this upwards. In 2020, it's going to continue to rise. 2024 election cycles, the Latino percentage of all votes is going to continue to go upward. And that's going to mean a great deal of political clout with some major caveats. Latino vote for this election and for all elections is heavily concentrated in Texas and California. And this may be one reason why the Latino vote is ignored by the press. Because these two states, we know that Clinton's going to carry California, and Texas is going to be carried by Trump. Major problem with Texas. It could be carried by Clinton if Latinos voted. Only 40% of eligible Latino voters cast ballots in Texas. We're going to get to this participation rate in a moment. Then we see Florida. Now this is the big enchilada here. This is the big unknown. New York is clearly going for Clinton. There's no question about that. Arizona is now a swing state. These other states, with the exception of Colorado, are probably going to be defined either way. But you can see here the concentration of Latino vote in two big states which are not under real, are not really going to be contested here. Florida's the big one, and we'll get to that. Now, because the national election is really state-by-state elections, here's the Latino percentage of vote in each of these states. New Mexico, the largest, 34%. Surprisingly, in New Mexico, we had a little better turnout rate. We'll talk about that. Nearly a quarter of all voters in California, Latino. Potential voters, this is the electorate. This is potential voters, not voters. Texas, we've got this ticking up to about 25% for this election. 25% of all eligible voters in the state of Texas are Latino. Yet because of low participation rates, they do not exercise their latent or potential political power. And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can see New York, New Jersey, Colorado, Illinois. So these are the big ones. About 78% of all voters are concentrated in these states. So the Latino vote is not a national phenomenon if we went state by state. It's rather a state by state phenomenon. Now here's the major problem with respect to potential Latino political power in the country. This is the percentage of eligible voters who voted between 1992 and 2012. You hear a lot about voter registration drives, don't you? We hear it all the time. We see NALEO, the National Association of Latino Elected Officials. We see this organization, that organization, La Raza, registering people to vote. It's been a dismal failure. Look at this line. 48% of eligible Latinos voted in 1992, 48% in 2012. That's dreadful. Now, the percentage of all people who voted continues to increase because of demographic expansion, but participation rates have remained frozen. And here is the major problem facing Latino politicians, religious organizations, civic organizations, people who want to get out to vote. Whatever they've been doing, it's been wrong. Of course, they say I'm a gringo with an attitude and should shut my mouth. But back into 2012, the participation rate among non-Hispanic whites, non-Hispanic blacks, that is, eligible voters who voted. Because of Obama's candidacy, non-Hispanic blacks voted at a higher rate than non-Hispanic whites. Look at Latinos. What happens if the Latino voting participation rate equals this? You've got a new country here. Literally. Quite literally. Not exaggerating. And that's going to only increase into the future. Now, here's the crux of the problem. These are voter registration rates. You can't vote unless you're registered, right? 48% of eligible Latinos voted, but this is because of the fact that this registration rate, 58%, has remained fossilized for 2 decades. Again, Latino population is growing in the United States, but the percentage of those registered to vote don't vote. The big question is why. Why is this the case? Especially because political participation rates in Latin America are so high, many countries so obligatory to vote. It is a mystifying situation. I can give you a few explanations and positive correlations, but we'll wait for that. All right. Once again, registration rates, non-Hispanic whites, non-Hispanic blacks in 2012, nearly 3/4 were registered. Look at Latinos, once again, back to 58%. Differs by state. This is why Florida is so important. Florida breaks the norm. 72%. I'm estimating about 3/4 of all Floridian Latinos will be registered to vote in 2016 for next month's election. Well above the 58% national average. So this is what's important to take notice.
Is that different by country of origin?
Pardon me?
Is that different by country of origin? Is that the Cubans as opposed to Mexicans, for example?
You will see momentarily when I examine Florida that the Cuban vote is a big if. They're only 30% of the electorate now. Puerto Ricans are equal to them. Another 60% of the electorate, or another 4% of the electorate is not Cuban. The reasons for this, I've been running a lot of statistical correlations. I don't want to bore you with the results. There are three fundamental reasons why Florida Latinos register and vote at higher rates. One, you ready? You're going to see some of this later. Naturalized citizens vote at higher rates than domestic-born citizens. About 40% of Latinos electorate in Florida is naturalized. So that's one reason. It's also one of the reasons why in Texas and Arizona we only have about 14% naturalization level. So for some reason, domestic-born, that is U.S.-born Latinos, don't register to vote at higher rates. So that's one thing we have in Florida. Second thing, voting registration participation rates are highly correlated to educational achievement. You're going to see a graph on this. That if you graduate college, you participate at a much higher rate than if you don't graduate high school. Florida's electorate is much more educated. That is, a high percentage of Latinos in Florida have graduated college. Third factor, age. Millennials, I hate the term because it's not specific, voted very low. Millennial Latinos voted about a 33% rate. The older you are, the higher participation rate. Florida's Latino population is older. So older, better educated, naturalized leads to higher participation rates. And you find the same thing, by the way, in Virginia. But Virginia Latinos are only about 3% of the voting population. In Florida, they're going to be 20%. And here you go. I just talked about naturalization rates. This may seem small, but when your electorate's 40% naturalized, it's significant. You see the participation rate here, 46% among U.S.-born Latinos, 53%. That's a significant difference here. All right? So the situation is even worse and more paradoxical and complex when you take into account the fact that Latinos born in the United States are even less interested in voting than those who came here and are naturalized. Are you dizzy yet from the numbers? Or you memorized them all? There's a multiple choice test after this. The winner receives a, I don't know what kind of prize. All right, more data here. Age, registration rates. You see 18 to 24-year-olds? Aging Latinos register at higher rates. Okay. So looking at the whole 58% doesn't tell the story. Each state has a different demographic structure. And you have to do a sophisticated analysis of what is the age structure of the population. Now we know that Latinos are younger than everyone else in most places in the United States because of higher birth rates and fertility rates among women. So this is a major problem here.
Do you have any idea about whites, for example, in terms of age in regard to the comparison?
Similar. Very similar. Similar profile, but not quite as dramatic. If I put all that data up, my father would be asleep by now, and I got to keep them awake here, so that's part of the problem here. All right, again, here's the participation rate. Who voted? Eligible voters. Look at so-called millennials. So, and again, you're going to find a similar profile among non-Hispanic whites and non-Hispanic blacks. Not quite as dramatic. So, you know, there's all this, I hear all this on the news about millennials. It's a problem. They don't vote anyways, and they didn't vote for Obama in the same numbers. Maybe non-Hispanic blacks did. So, again, voting rate by age is important. Here's what I told you. This is voting rates by, registration rates, I'm sorry, by education. All right? Graduate college, have an advanced degree, you're not at 48%, right? Now, down here, less than 9th grade, you see, I mean, this is a classic pattern here, more education, better voting rates. Now, one of the pieces of good news for the future, I'm always trying to predict the future, because if I can do that, I'd retire from being a university professor and be paid a huge sum of money, but what you're seeing in educational attainment levels among Latinos in the United States is that there is still the lowest college graduation rate. However, it has increased significantly since 1990 and 2000. In other words, we have a curve of college graduates are going up. It's now at about 18%. Back in 1990, it was about 6 or 7%. What's that mean for the future? Greater educational attainment levels, greater participation levels in elections. Now, we also got a lot of problems. All right, so let's you don't have to read this question.
Do you have the information for gender?
Absolutely, I have information for gender and by nationality.
No, but gender. I mean,
Well, gender is learned behavior.
participation.
Gender is learned behavior. So let's talk about males and females, which is sex. Yes, I have information by sex. Women, Latinas, have a higher college graduation rate than Latinos, number one. That's one thing. There's a huge differentiation by nationality. Now, you're going to love this. Peruvian, Colombian, and Ecuadorian women have extraordinarily high college graduation rates, probably because as immigrants they came here with greater college. The rate among Peruvian women, I have to have this at the top of my, because I'm working on that now, is close to 40%. That's off the charts. Dominican and Puerto Rican women or males have a much, much lower college graduation. So Andeans, Cubans lead the way. And of course, female women, Latinas, cast about 53% of all ballots among the Latino population. And by the way, that's about the same among non-Hispanic whites and non-Hispanic. So higher educational levels among Latinos will be a significant factor in the future in terms of participation in electoral politics. All right, well, I think you've had a chance to read this. Let's look at Florida, because for Trump, he can't possibly win this election without winning in Florida. And I'm going to show you why. You can breathe a sigh of relief and win. Clinton's going to carry Florida. Not because of the suburban, white, educated women, because of Latinos in the state. All right, so here's the Latino population in Florida. From 1990, it's now a quarter or a little bit more, approaching 30% of the total population of the state, especially because of the large-scale Puerto Rican migration to Central Florida that's been going on as people are fleeing Puerto Rico. So here's the basic demography. Here's the Latino electorate of the state. 20% of those eligible to vote, more or less, are Latinos in 2016, and I'm estimating that about 20% of the vote will be Latinos. Now, here's the registration rate that I was alluding to before. Notice that unlike in the United States per se, voter registration rates have constantly increased. They were 48% nationally back in 1996. They're 62%. I'm estimating 3/4 of all Latinos will be registered to vote in the state of Florida. And that is very, very significant for this election. All right. And again, Florida Latinos voted 60-40 for Obama. We're going to see some of those slides here in a moment. And again, this is the participation rate. Now I'm estimating that about close to 2/3 of Latinos will vote, and eligible Latinos will vote because of these higher registration rates. And again, stop me if you have any questions on these data. All right, this is what I was alluding to before. 43% of all eligible Latino voters were naturalized citizens. And that is a big factor in accounting for these higher participation rates in Florida. All right? And that's why registration, Clinton wants to win, it's a little too late now, but I'm sure that her ground game has been very strong among Latinos, getting them registered, getting them out to vote, especially because of overwhelming support here. Again, I'm estimating 20% of all votes to be cast. A fifth of all votes in Florida are going to be Latino votes. And that's what's going to push the state to her favor. Now, nationalities. You asked me a question about nationalities. 1990, the red line are Cubans. This is eligible voters, electorate. The percentage of Cubans, we always hear about the Cuban vote, the elections are prisoner to the Cuban vote, American policy toward Cuba, prisoner of the Cuban vote in Florida. Well, the Cuban vote in Florida has increasingly gone down. Now I've looked at some latest data. The number of Puerto Ricans and the number of Cubans in Florida are about the same in terms of eligible people to vote. Surprisingly, this becomes a surprise to you, Mexicans are understood in the state. So, this is not a Cuban state anymore. And as we'll see, persuasions among Cubans have changed dramatically. Back in, now this is how many people voted for how many Cubans voted Democratic? Only 25% back in 2000. Nearly half of all Cubans voted Democratic for Obama in 2012, and that's because of a generational change. The old Republican, the staunch anti-Castro generation is departing the historical stage. And a new generation without the kinds of Republican-leaning beliefs that their parents or grandparents had is taking over, and I suspect that this is going to tick upward significantly among them. This is just a Cuban vote. So the Cuban vote is no longer Republican, and that's going to come into play. Now, here you can see preferences. This is the way Latinos in Florida voted back in 2012. They're Puerto Ricans, 82% for Obama. Brasileiros, alguns brasileiros aqui.
Wow.
Right here. Brasileiros, 92% of Florida. So you can see that it's only Cubans who are below that 50% threshold. It's going to be more in the next election here. Now, this is the key to understanding Florida. Right? These are actual voter registration statistics published by the Florida Department of State. Right? And this was just from last week, they published the August numbers here. And so the story is very clear. Look at the red line. These are Latinos registered as Republicans. From 2006, this is the first year they started collecting data, the percentage of all Latinos registered as Republicans has gone down from 37.6%. Democrats have ticked up, independents have ticked up. These are your independents and Democrats. How will they vote? Well, Democrats are going to vote for Clinton. These are registered voters now. Now, when you're registered in Florida, close to 90% of Latinos show up to polls once you're registered. Independents are clearly going to break, I think, very heavily for Clinton. Even in Florida, I was checked Latino decisions this morning. I'm trying to update all the data. Trump only has a 12% approval rating in Florida. So, if Obama carried Hispanics 60-40, what's going to be Clinton? If Clinton carries Hispanics 60-40, she wins Florida. But guess what? She's going to win 70-30. She's going to win even 65-35. She carries the state. There aren't enough crackers in northern Florida to compensate for the Latino vote, and that's the end of the story. So, I guess if you're a megalomaniac, you ignore this data, these data. So, I think this is actual party registration. So, that's what. Now, okay, whoever memorizes this tape. Look, I've looked at a lot of swing states here. And this is the latest polling data. There's a lot of numbers here. I don't expect you. Let me explain to you what's going on here. What has happened is that the number of swing states has now been reduced. Virginia is no longer a swing state. Clinton's way ahead. Pennsylvania is no longer a swing state. Clinton's way ahead. Ohio is a swing state. North Carolina is a swing state. I think the most important one up here, at least, is obviously Florida, Nevada. But here's the real problem. Look at Arizona. 40% of eligible Latinos voted in 2012. Latinos go to the polls at a 50-55% rate. Arizona slipped Democratic, without question, because 80% of Arizona Latinos vote Democratic. So what is going on here? What is going on with voter registration drives, get out the vote drives in Arizona? Major problem. Texas, by the way, as I mentioned, the same thing. Nevada. You still have a 52% rate here. Very, very low. Nevada is, and Clinton seems to have a comfortable lead in Nevada now, and I'm pretty pretty sure she'll carry the state. Is the Latino vote going to take up? And again, we're talking about white suburban college-educated women and working-class white men who haven't graduated high school, but why is this being ignored here? This ought to be a topic of conversation. And you know, I've advised the Democratic National Committee on how to register Latinos, but they don't listen to me. They're bizarre. I've advised the National Association of Latino elected officials on how to register Latinos. They don't listen to me. They say there's no money. I said, well, okay. All you got to do, and I can do this, is target where 18-year-old Latino citizens live. And get a brigade of $10 an hour high school kids to go and register them. Because in a state like Arizona, 48% of those places, which I can pinpoint on a map, because I do a lot of GIS mapping, I tell you where they live, I tell you where they're registered, just go there. You know what LA's doing? LA's trying to turn out registered Latino voters. I went to Washington 3 weeks ago and I said, are you crazy? I said 85% already vote. You're only talking about a pool of 15%, but you're talking about a pool of 40-some% of non-registered voters. Get them to register. I told them I wouldn't charge that much for it. All right, so what you're seeing here, this swing state, there's a story here to be told here. The story is turnout, the story is registration. Swing states would not be swing states if the larger, especially the larger states, if Latinos registered in the question.
Well, you partially answered this about Arizona. I'm from Arizona. My mom and my sister were trying to register Latino voters. They manage apartments. They know where they live.
Right.
They had an incredibly hard time. They'd spend days and they couldn't get people to register.
Right.
So I'm curious about if you have an answer to this of why is it so much more difficult? Are there...
I don't have an answer for it. I can give you some anecdotal stories from the Bronx. Now, you know the Bronx is part of Latin America. The Bronx is about, they say 52% Latino, it's really more. So I teach one course a year at undergraduates up at one of the city university campuses. My students are all Latinos. Question. Students, how many of you know you have to register to vote in order to vote? 30 students, 2 raised their hand. Is that anecdotal systematic? How many of you know the deadline to register to vote in the state of New York? Now, my college has a system where every student goes online where they can register to vote. And they see it. They have to go online for syllabuses and readings, and they see it. It says register to vote here. They did not know this. Now, these are Puerto Rican Dominican kids for the most part. All right. So, whether that absence of information
Why would we state that?
is a factor, I don't know.
Sheriff Joe Arpaio or... You know.
Right, right. Why in a state that is so anti-immigrant, that has had such repressive policies and discriminatory policies toward Latinos, you don't find them stepping up and going to the polls? I mean, apathy, my vote doesn't matter, I don't know. It's certainly on the... Now, I think it's a reflection of the failure of Latino civic, religious, political organizations and elected officials. Now, when I tell Latinos that, again, they want to crucify me, but whatever. But they failed. If they can't budget 20 years to rate, well, then they're doing something wrong. Why don't they change policies, you see? Because those are the people who have connections within communities. It's at the local level that you mobilize people. Now, in New York, New York's a Latino city. New York is 30% Latino, all right, probably a little bit more. If you can't speak Spanish in New York, forget about it, you get nothing done. People come to my center, my graduate center, they say, how do you get everything done so efficiently? I say, well, it's muy complicado. They don't know how to speak Spanish. Everyone who sets up the projectors. It's a Hispanic city, all right, in New York. Now, I have spoken. The head of the New York City Council is Puerto Rican woman, who I happen to know, most of Mark. There are numerous numerous elected officials in state legislative assembly, numerous elected officials in city council. And I've gone to them and I've said, why don't you let me design for you a voter registration drive? Because I deal with this demographic data. I know where Latinos live in New York City. It's a big city. You know what they tell me? They don't want anyone to hear what they tell me, but I'm going to share it with you. Sotto voce. I'm not going to bust me on this, all right? They said, we are interested in Latinos who have voted in the past. Because all we know, we want to see the voter registration rolls. Because once a person votes, there's a 90% probability that they'll vote again. So when they're designing their political campaigns, Latino politicians, paradoxically, are not looking at bringing in new voters, because that's a big question mark, right? That's a maybe, maybe not. What they're interested in, who has voted. Show me the voter registration roll, show me where voters live, and I design my campaign appealing to people who have already voted. So that may be, in other words, the public posturing is we're going to register, register, register. It's not happening, and I think that may be part of the problem. Latino elected officials are looking at those who are already registered because they know they're going to vote. Oh my God. Well, this is just a recapitulation of that data. Here's the data on, naturalized Latinos in Florida. Arizona, you see, it's very low. 83% of Latino potential voters are born in the U.S. And we know that there's this low registration rate for some just absolutely inexplicable reason. Look at Colorado also. All right, I think that brings us an end to the statistical road. I've looked at some smaller states, mercifully. So, any questions or discussion? Yeah.
Yeah, so you anticipated that the vote of Latinos will increase in the future due to higher levels of education. But at the same time, there will be a higher number of millennials, Latino, who are voting less.
Right.
So how do you know that these trends will not cancel each other out?
They might. Don't know. But don't forget, I mean, you have a number of demographic variables that you have to analyze here. What's the rate of aging? What's the birth rate and fertility rate, which in fact is now declining? I think that there's probably a good possibility that these numbers are going to pick up in the future. We're going to really know after this election here. If we can't move the voter participation rate on Latinos above 48% in this election, there's something drastically wrong, given this racist, xenophobic, anti-immigrant candidate that's going around screaming and yelling and ranting and raving and behaving like a madman. And if you can't get Latinos, I'm not offending anyone because they have like Mr. Trump. Get out of here. So, you know, I think we'll know if trends are going to shift. And once again, it's state-driven. California and Texas is different. California doesn't matter. And that's where the greatest concentration of Latino voters are. I mean, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, because it does matter, especially when we look at legislative assembly elections that is local elections. That's a whole other story here. Because if Latinos voted in higher levels in particular districts, we might get some of those Republicans out and Democrats in. And again, to predict the future, this issue of Latino voting becomes more and more important as you're moving toward 2050 and that 1 in 3, you see. This becomes critical because you're looking at, you know, what are all the metaphors, the sleeping giant, the this, the that, I read it all the time, but, you know, this is a ground game at the state level in particular states. And you know what you find? I mean, states, the demographics are mind-boggling. Georgia. You know Georgia's in play? 10% of Georgia's population is Latino. In 1990, that was less than 1%. Now, we have a large number of foreign-born Latinos who can't vote, but because of high birth and fertility rates, the number of potential voters is going to just grow in a place like Georgia. And I think Texas is going to vote Democratic. If it's not in 2020 and not in 2024, it'll be in 2028, because you're going to find that basically 50% population is Latino. And so, looking at the future, it's obvious that the Republican Party has probably committed suicide, which is good news. If we can just give them a little push, they're going to be a better place. I don't have any political persuasions at all. But in any event, so, I mean, this business of registration is not simply a static issue. It is an issue to look toward the future as something that is going to be extremely important in election results and suburban elections. Good question.
Yeah, it's not an observation.
Speak loud. Don't be shy.
Okay, sorry. I guess I just sort of point out some things that I've been observing, especially with like younger Latinos, and particularly Chicanos and Puerto Ricans. I won't clearly, I'm going to put Clinton supporter, but I did.
Well, that's good news.
But I have noticed, especially among younger Puerto Ricans in general, disillusionment with both candidates, obviously, but even with Clinton and even to a certain extent, because one of the things I did notice was that back in 2008 she was very supportive of statehood, and that was one of the things that she promised. Statehood for Puerto Rico. And now that's clearly very absent in her nowadays because of our economic crisis. So that's something that I think is disheartening. I think another thing too is that from a Mexican, particularly in my master's institution, one of the things that a lot of the students were mentioning is that yes, they're citizens, but their parents aren't, and their parents can attend the graduation, and they were protesting the one person giving the speech for defense, and it was the Department of Homeland Security, and they were protesting, Obama's policies on immigration because he has reported that with you. So I think that is contributing to, a lot of the disillusionment and, resistance to registering, but that's...
Yeah, look, you said a lot of different things, some of which I didn't quite understand. Look, the Obama administration's policies toward undocumented people has been absolutely dreadful. Let's say quite clearly. He's the deporter-in-chief. Why is mystifying. And I don't know what that's going to I don't know how that's going to link to voter participation rates. That's a disillusionment, I think, with Obama. On the other hand, I always tell people, this election has nothing to do with Hillary Clinton. Really. This election has to do with a megalomaniac, a madman. And anyone would be, even among the third-party candidates would be better. So, I don't know that Latinos see it in these terms. I don't know, but I think the polling data is quite clear that there's overwhelming support nationally. And again, the key thing is going to be the state of Florida. Good question.
I was wondering if you have any data about religious affiliation and how that played.
I don't have any data.
Okay.
They don't collect that data. There's no systematic data. There's polling data about that, but I've not looked at that kind of stuff. It's been based on very small samples. I'm very careful with the way I use data because I'm looking for large sample sizes. Small sample sizes just don't. It's just for reliability plots. So I don't have any information.
There was a poll the other day on TV that indicated that 30% of Latino voters in Nevada were expected to vote for Trump. Didn't understand that. Didn't seem right to me. It raises the question of maybe there is something also in Trump that appeals culturally, economically to some.
I can give you some anecdotal evidence. All right. Not systematic. And this is what I've heard, and I've attended some CNN and Espanol big functions in Washington where there's been Trump supporters. The Hillary haters are pretty widespread. She's a sleazebag, she's a liar, she's a this, she's a that, she's this and that. I think that's one factor. And I've heard this personally.
In Latino.
I think, and again, this is anecdotal. anecdotal, not systematic. I think that's one thing. I think the second thing is, and this is, I think, perverse. I really do think this is perverse. That's just my opinion, subjective, of course, reflecting my political views. But I have heard Latinos tell me, but he tells it like it is. And I say, what is it exactly that he tells? That he's a xenophobic, racist, misogynist, and you like that, that he's upfront about that? But I think he tells it like, I think it reflects what is generalized in the body politique is something that is irrational, but based in fact, and that is a disgust with the extant system. And I think the Fox News sound bites about this is a rigged system, and as you know, you hear this verbiage, the same verbiage that Hannity vomits, the rigged system, the this, the corruption. Now it's an international conspiracy. I'm waiting for the Jews to come in. It's going to be an international Jewish conspiracy by probably the end of tomorrow. You see, I think that strikes a resonant chord among some Latinos. That they don't have any perspective at all about the past, the present, and certainly the future. I think, that's not really an answer. It's simply speculation.
I don't want to get into something else that was over there first. I was going to say, I think another part of the answer is partially going back to your question. The Latinos are not a homogeneous group.
Right.
And there are policies that matter, whether it be statehood, whether it be abortion, these kinds of things, which you hear a number of them commenting about. So who are going to appoint to the Supreme Court, and that's all the counts on.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you really do have to, I mean, in Nevada in particular, you have an 80 to 90% population that is of Mexican descent. Almost, probably close, over 85% born in the United States. These are people born and raised here. And so to some extent, they have incorporated the kinds of attitudes that are generalized among the rest of voters. And I think that's what we use to explain that. Now, I'll tell you something even worse. In Ohio, where Latinos are only about 3% of the voting population, now, that could be significant in a tight election. 46% voted for Romney in 2012. 46%. Now, I happen to know that Ohio Latinos are in working class areas, in Cleveland, in Toledo, again, that's a pretty high percentage because that breaks the mold in terms of the national average. So why are Ohio Latinos voting predominantly, I mean not predominantly, but significantly high rates of Republican voting in 2012 and so on? Another interesting question, what will happen this year? Ohio is a swing state. 3% of the voting means something. Especially when you have, I mean, Obama carried Florida by 0.9% of the vote in 2012. 0.9% of the vote, Obama won Florida. So, question?
Yeah, it's pretty much a comment. I'm being here, I'm a permanent resident here in the United States for well, I don't know, almost 10 years. But the thing is, I think one of the facts that we don't vote, I'm not eligible to vote right now, but I'm gonna do it eventually as soon as I'm being a citizen. It's the culture that we bring from our countries. A few countries in Latin America actually, we learn to go and vote with your family, or your family tell you to vote, or you learn in front of school. We don't do these things because we're coming for a political culture that only grown-ups can go and vote, or it's not our decision. That can be one of the facts. And another one is, and now I'm thinking, in the process, the whole process that since I become from exchange students to permanent resident, I never get a paper to say, oh, maybe keep in mind to vote for your citizenship here in this, at least in Pennsylvania.
You've never received any kind of...
No.
Nothing.
Well, no. So my only difference, because that's the question to me, I'm being like holding. Should I become American or not? Because the whole benefits, I have it is the same. The only thing I cannot do is vote. But I have all the benefits as a permanent resident.
Well, I would invoke the following. We look at the history of humanity. How many people and how many cultures had the right to vote to choose their leaders? I think it's something to be cherished, to be honored, and I would highly encourage you to look at the rest of humanity, and even in contemporary times, and see who has this opportunity to actually make a difference.
Yeah,
Your vote matters, especially in Pennsylvania. So get citizenship. Plus, that passport, you can go to a lot of places without citizenship.
well, yeah, I guess. But as, anyway.
But you know, I mean,
But as a woman, yeah,
and see, that's what you're telling me is what you're doing, and I don't mean to be any kind. I'm just being analytical. You're discounting the importance of the right to vote. And what I'm telling you is that's an important right, because I hear this all the time. My vote doesn't matter. My vote doesn't matter. How many votes
you counted.
did George W. Bush win the state of Florida by in 2000? 520%. The history of the world would have been radically different had 528 Latinos voted who didn't. Do you want a more graphic example about why your vote counts?
No, I have it that clear, yeah.
Another question.
Yeah, in terms of representation, like now it's more clear that the Democratic Party is the one that is going to advance more the interests of the Latino voters. Don't you see a problem there that it's a captive vote? The same with African Americans, like a vast majority of African Americans will vote Democratic. But so what are the incentives for the Democratic Party to keep them, because they know that they will have this vote?
I mean, I think that's a good question. I mean, what kinds of policies are the Democratic Party going to enunciate that's going to be beneficial to Latinos, and not just assume that they're going to vote? I think number one, and this is the big issue in this election, is the Supreme Court. The next president is probably going to name 2 to 3 members of the Supreme Court. If Clinton is re-elected in 2020, maybe even more. We should only hope that, well, we don't want to cast aspersion on any members of the Supreme Court, except for a few that I can name personally. What happens to voting rights? The Voting Rights Act was repealed by the Supreme Court. This is one of the most preposterous things events that has occurred in modern U.S. juridical history. Now, I worked in the Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s. The struggle to pass the Voting Rights Act was monumental. Now, Voting Rights Act is not just for African Americans, it's for Latinos as well, because of notorious efforts at voter suppression in particular states across the United States. So I think that's one area, guarantee basic rights. And I think that the Democratic Party should not take for granted the African American or Latino vote by any means. It has to articulate policies that are real, that are going to be beneficial to people. I'm not a politician, I'm just simply analyzing the data, so I'm moving into the political realm. I think it's a really good question, and I think that without any ambiguities, the fact that you may have, over the next 3 decades, 1 in every 3 voters may be Latino is an extraordinary incentive for every political party to articulate policies, programs, pass laws that are going to benefit the Latino population. They'd be foolish not to. Question?
I have 2 questions for you.
2 only. I don't know if I can have that part.
The first one is related with ethnic identity and voting behavior, because
With what, I'm sorry?
ethnic identity and voting behavior.
Ethnic identity and voting behavior. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
They're on the hot water.
Because, yeah, obviously those Latinos who are voting outside of this country would likely cast their vote based on their ethnic identity, but the thing might be quite different those Latinos who are voting in this country, because we have no evidence or statistical data, how much they care about their identity, how they define themselves as a Latino or just United States citizens. So this can be the first question. And the second
Well, no, wait. One time, you know, I'm getting over my capacity for digesting information. Look, as Scott mentioned, Latinos are not monolithic. They're made up of different nationalities. Mexicans comprise 2/3 of all Latinos in the United States. Puerto Ricans are the second largest group, and they're basically influential in particular areas, New Jersey, New York, Florida, to a lesser extent Pennsylvania. Dominicans are large in eastern Pennsylvania, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, in terms of ethnic identity, you're opening up a huge can of worms here. You're asking some very complex questions about Latino communities and how people see themselves and how that changes generation to generation. There's not one particular answer here. Quite clearly, people who are born in a particular country have a particular framework for understanding their lives and for identifying themselves. What is most common, of course, is the utilization of national terminology. I'm Mexican, I'm Ecuadorian, I'm Peruvian, I'm this and that. Now, second, third generations, fourth generations, their conceptualization of who they are and what their identity is changed. And quite clearly, the whole concept of Latino is an externally imposed definition of an identity. It's by people who don't understand that, in fact, Argentinians and Mexicans are very different, and Puerto Ricans and Bolivians share very little in common. It's an externally imposed, but it's been internally accepted by younger generations. What are you? I'm Latino. But no, where's your parents from? Oh, yeah, I'm Puerto Rican. Now, I see this in my dealings in New York City all the time, because I hate to say that, I'm teaching so long in New York City, I've taught grandparents, parents, and children. Literally, I have a student who's a grandchild, a student who I had back in 1980-something. So, and the younger students, they identify as Latinos. Now, what's that mean in terms of political participation rates and in terms of voting choices? I can't tell you. But we do have this major problem of registration and voting participation rates. And if an anthropologist can unravel this and make some appeals to identity, gender, the other, whatever it is, fine. Second question.
Do you think the ratio of those Latinos who register to vote will stay in current status in the future as well? Or
do I think? You know, I don't know. I intuitively, logically, rationally, one would expect that registration rates would go up. I mean, no one is deaf, I assume. I think that Latinos across the country have certainly observed the anti-immigrant, anti-Latino, the xenophobic, nationalistic, racist pronunciations of this madman, all right? And to not respond by registering would be mysterious at best. So I'll come back here in January after the data is released by Census Bureau and I'll let you know, but it would be a great disappointment if it doesn't tick up above the 58%. I would expect to see in the lower 60s. I would expect to see now. That doesn't mean anything.
One way to partially answer that question in the longer term is, and we showed that the young voters, or young citizens, are not registering for voting.
Right.
But those, they don't stay young forever, right? I mean, they're cohorts, and they get older, and then they should register. But what would go against that philosophy is that you show it's a horizontal line for 20 years. There hasn't been an uptick in the registration. So, something that doesn't add up there, right? That means that the cohort that's been socialized at one point is registering at a lower rate than their forefathers were doing.
Well, you may have hit on, it may be the demographics of the Latino population in the United States. Much younger than the rest of the population. Like significantly younger. And in other words, if you look at the age pyramids, for those of you who do social science research, it's very heavy at the bottom levels. Now, what's happened is those people are going to age. And not only that, fertility and birth rates among Latinos is starting to decrease. And so you're going to see a slightly older population in the next decade or next 2 decades, and that may translate into higher rates of political participation.
Along the lines of what Scott was saying, what you were saying about ethnic identity, the younger population that eventually will become voters later, you showed charts, 20-year span, considerably 1 to 2 generations in terms of voting age. From what I see anecdotally, being a foreigner here, newer generations tend to assimilate. There's a different rates of it, depending on the level of education, country of origin, different things. And I'm wondering if that younger generations, 2nd, 3rd generations, are not marking I'm Latino, but I'm suddenly in the white category, so they are not showing on their stats as Latinos, but on the other side, maybe that's an explanation.
You're very concerned with statistical reliability, aren't you?
I'm not looking at numbers, I know it's very complicated,
Well,
but a little bit of everything, that we don't talk about Irish Americans anymore in terms of voting.
I think once again in terms of data, and let me respond the same way I responded to your previous question, that may be the case.
It's a self-report.
But evidence seems to indicate that in fact Latinos do check off Latinos. And that people even go to the extreme of writing in. There are only 3 checkoffs for Latino nationalities: Mexican, Puerto Rican, and Cuban. Every other national group has to write in Salvadoreño, this, that, Brazil, this, okay? But the evidence suggests from the data that I analyze is that that is very widespread. So I don't think that this, and the other thing is this: if you study demography at all, you can get a very clear understanding of the data when you see particular yearly growth rates. And if we look at yearly growth rates, not overall growth rates, among Latinos in the United States, and we factor in what we know about migration, it's pretty much reliable. In other words, you're not seeing some crazy low yearly growth rate of 0.5% or some high yearly growth rate of 3%. You're seeing what would be expected in a population which has a particular age structure, a particular fertility and birth rate, and a particular level of immigration. So I think that the census data does have a margin of error. It's not precise, but it is fairly accurate in terms of looking at percentages of overall population, states, age structures, national origins. I mean, that's my opinion. And again, how is that related to what we're talking about here? And that is political participation levels. That's the key. Because you are really looking at a sleeping giant here that will change the face of local politics and national politics in key states if the participation rate was higher. Now, Texas and Arizona are at the forefront. Florida is quite clearly, obviously, has been so critical in every single election. I think those 3 states, Colorado, Nevada, I don't think it's going to much matter in California.
Yeah, I have a question about the issues that Latinos care about. So now the immigration issue is the most salient one.
Right.
But then, so without Trump, in the future, will like other social issues like abortion or, I mean, I know Latin America in general is a very religious region, like Catholic, the majority of them believe in Catholicism. And so will they become more conservative if they don't care about immigration anymore?
I mean, that's a good question. I don't know, but look what you're dealing with here. First of all, for Latinos, the #1 issue is immigration status. If we make the assumption that the estimates of 11 million undocumented people are accurate, it may be a little higher, it may be a little lower, how many of those people have family members who were born in the United States? In other words, you're talking 11 million people. Now, let's keep this in perspective. We're talking about a Latino population of the United States of approximately 55 to 60 million people. We're talking 20% of the Latino population. Now, if we do a little fiddling with the math and look at children born to undocumented people in the United States, we may be talking about 33% of the population that would be affected by these insane deportation, round them up and pack them in trains away. So immigration reform, someone asked me about what Democrats could do to help Latinos. Push forward immigration reform to legalize undocumented people. And you're going to get the Democratic vote for about 3 more generations to come. I think that's the #1 issue. I mean, look, I live in New York. City University of New York admits undocumented people. We don't discriminate against people with documents, undocumented people, with respect to admission or with respect to financial aid. We're probably the most progressive university system in the country. We have 20, I sound like an advertisement here, we have 400,000 students at the City University of New York. We have 29 campuses, right? Close to 40% of our students are Latino. How many are undocumented, we don't know. But in my conversations in New York City, this is the #1 issue. #1 issue is legalization. #1 issue is don't break up families. So, I mean, you get a Clinton presidency, and depending on what happens in the Senate and House of Representatives, I can't see, and I'm going out on a limb here, how are they going to continue the Republicans, I mean, the obstructionist set of policies that they perpetrated against Obama for 8 years? Are they going to continue to marginalize themselves from such issues as immigration reform? Now, this is going to be the big question in the aftermath of this election. How crazy is the Republican Party going to be? Because all Trump is the personification of every single thing that they've been saying for 8 years. You know, he's Republican style. I mean, he represents, in graphic terms, the Republican Party. He is the Republican Party, whether you like it or not. They've been muttering this below in sotto voce for 8 years now. So what's going to happen with the Clinton presidency, even if she doesn't win the Senate or House of Representatives? Are they going to continue this kind of madness to sabotage such issues as immigration reform? Now, that's the big $64,000 question, because I can't see in a political sense any benefits from that. They're going to take a drubbing in this election. She's going to win an electoral landslide, unless something crazy happens in the next 3 weeks. What's that going to tell them with respect to the questions that affect Latinos? That's the real issue here. So, moderate Republicans, look, George W. Bush, as reprehensible as he was, you'll excuse my opinionated comments here, favored immigration reform. It's the lunatic fringe that became the mainstream of the Republican Party, the Tea Party and all these other xenophobic, white nationalists, alt-right people who opposed it and couldn't get it through. But even Republican politicians can somehow realize that this is something that has to be effective. So I think that's part of the answer to your question here. You do immigration reform, it's not like you're counting on the Latino vote. You've shown the Latino population that this is something why it's worthwhile electing Democrats.
Within the same income level or educational level, do Latinos still remain the lowest ethnic group in terms of the level of political participation? Because
that's a good question. I see where you're going. And the next question is about the political persuasions of higher income Latinos. Let me just say a quick note about that. Latino populations not only are homogeneous with respect to nationality, there is a clear, I forget I should use this word, class structure in Latino communities. Okay, he's not a Marxist, he's not an economic determinist. But in any event, what I'm saying here is that you have the image of poverty is a false one. All right, 30% of all Latino households in the United States earn greater than $100,000 a year. 30%. However, 50% of Latino children live in poverty. In other words, we have a very stratified community, and that affects political. Calling it a community is also a stretch here, but sector of the population is highly stratified, like every other sector of the population. Now, how does that impact on social stratification, income levels, educational levels? How does that impact political persuasion and voting patterns? I don't have the answer to that. don't have the correlation to that. We don't have data on voters according to income levels. Just one thing.
I'm going to use my prerogative to ask the last question. I'm going to cede my time to your dad. But
Against
there's a
the
question
bottom.
for you.
Your question.
Yeah, I have a question.
I won't be able to answer this.
Why does Trump get so many votes from people that their votes are based on hatred of Hillary? Why does Hillary engender so much hatred? Give me an analysis.
You stop me, Dad. That's all I can say.
Why?
We're going to speak about this in private. I don't really have the answer to the question. Look, people voting against their own economic interests is not something new. Demagoguery, appealing to the lowest forms of human behavior is not something invented by Donald Trump. There was a guy in the 1930s in Central Europe who wanted to make his country great again. Remember that guy? And he advocated deporting people who didn't belong in fact, to death camps. By the way, the Latinos go insane when you tell them that. And I, you know, again, I don't know the answer to the question why people are so imbued with hatred and resentment and this and that. But I do know that sadly some Latinos buy into this stuff. And I've seen it firsthand. And of course, I pull out my sword. Anyway, I don't know the answer to that. We'll talk about this over lunch, dinner, and whatever else we decide.
All right.
Now, here's a political pundit. You get to be 96 years old. You better pay attention to this guy. I listen to everything he says.
I'm not 96 yet.
All right.
Thank you so much.
I just want to thank you. We don't get a chance very often to talk about this.
All I can say is it's good to be home. I love Pittsburgh.
Thank you again. And like I said, start to say, we don't get a chance to talk about current politics with people up to the date data who are really analyzing it. This is